Hey AP Seminar. All right, purpose of this video is to go through row by row on the rubric and give you look-fors, the things I will be looking for, and some graphics to help to reinforce that. Now these are taken right from the training that I have to do every year to prepare myself to grade these. They are designed to help a grader easily recognize when you have met certain areas of the rubric. So while the rubric is helpful and you should look over the rubric, this is designed to be even more comprehensive in that it will hopefully help you better understand what you can put into your presentation to hit the things that I am specifically looking for when I'm seeing at what level you have satisfied each row of that rubric. So let's go ahead and get started with row 1. All right, so let's take a look at some of the supporting materials that I am given to try to help me better grade your presentation. This comes right from the scoring guide, the scoring training that I have to do every year. Here's a what students need to do section, and I have some things highlighted here. You're preparing a multimedia presentation that will be an audience of your peers. Remember that, you're talking to high school kids. So make this something that's appealing to high school kids. You have to be selective when you choose both the claims and the evidence that you're going to use. You can't cover every position, and you can't use every piece of evidence. It's just not possible. So be selective in what you choose. You want your oral presentation to carry most of the work, and then your media to support that. So your visual media is going to support what you're saying. And then, of course, you want to consider your audience. You want to consider where you are. This is an academic thing, so it's not too informal, but you are speaking to high school students. And then your purpose, of course, is to convince us that you have come up with a conclusion, solution, or resolution that helps to address the problem. Again, awareness of audience in the next bullet point. Engage your audience using appropriate strategies. And then they advocate note cards or an outline. But notice they say, quickly reference. As soon as that outline becomes something that you depend on too much, it's going to damage the presentation, not help it. You should rehearse. My idea is that the day before presentations, you would have a class period to work with at least one other person practicing delivering your presentation, and they could score for you and give you some feedback. And then you're going to try to time yourself so that you fall within the 6 to 8 minute time limit. So that's what you need to do for this presentation. They give you pretty much a step-by-step overview of the project here. And I'll just leave this up, pause the video if you want to see it. But we've already kind of gone through this when we went through the overview in a previous video. If you haven't watched that yet, you should probably go back and do that. Now, with the rubric, we're going to look row by row at what you should be doing in order to satisfy this rubric. Row 1, this is understanding and analyzing content. For the medium box, you're making general statements about context and how this relates to the stimulus material. For the high box, the relevance is clear, and what that means is why we should care is clear. And how it connects to the stimulus material, there's no doubt. Anyone listening to this knows exactly how the 2 pieces of stimulus material led to this question. And that's it. Do those 2 things, and you score high for row 1. For row 2, you need an argument that is clearly organized. What issue, what perspectives, what issue, what perspectives. Connecting perspectives as you discuss issue by issue. If you have a very clear progression of logic from the problem to the perspectives and discussing those issues to your solution to the wrap-up of the paper, if it's all very clearly signposted and fully explains how the evidence supports the claims, you're going to score high here. And what that means is every time you say, this perspective believes this is true, I'm going to say, no, it doesn't. That you're lying. That perspective doesn't believe that at all. And you have to not only introduce evidence, but tie that evidence back to the claim. If you can do all of that consistently, you're going to score well on row 2. Row 3, How well do you select and use the evidence? Is the evidence the best, most credible, most relevant evidence for the claims you've chosen? And do you show how evidence from different perspectives works to generate an argument? So if you're telling me that perspective A thinks this and you offer evidence, is the evidence for perspective B's position as relevant, as credible, as convincing? Does it make them look equal? Do you have evidence that equally and adequately supports both sides? If you've used evidence to adequately and equally propose positions or argue positions for both sides, you're going to do fine on this. Now, if all of your evidence leans towards one perspective, you can't get above a 2. So if you never offer evidence for a different perspective, you won't get above a 2. If you have a lot of sources that aren't academic, you're going to end up in that middle to low category. Row 4. You need to come to a conclusion, solution, or resolution. You must clearly have your own perspective on this issue. And the resolution, conclusion, or solution that you come to is actually realistic. Like it's something we could do. You're not going to advocate ridding the world of greed because we can't do that. And then you also have to articulate whatever limitations or implications that your solution might have. What happens if we do this? What are some of the drawbacks if we follow your advice? Row 5. You can't have spelling mistakes on this slideshow presentation. You can't clutter it with words. You can't put in a lot of empty, useless images. Everything on this presentation has to move us towards a better understanding of your topic. In addition to that, it should signpost your argument. It should let us know where we are in your argument at all times. Go easily on just the images for image's sake. Every image should have a purpose. Every image should bring us closer to understanding what you're trying to explain. Then finally, vocal variety, eye contact, purposeful movement. The 3 things that are going to engage your audience. And you need all of them in order to score in the high row. For some of you, for many of you, for almost all of you, it means relaxing, loosening up, trying to at least appear that you're not nervous. You've been in a room with us all year. You know all of these people. You know me. Just talk to us. Just pretend that we're really interested in what you have to say. Make us really interested. Make us really interested in what you have to say. Let us know that this is one of the most interesting topics in the world, and we should really be excited about what you have to share. Eye contact, purposeful movement, vocal variety. Now, when it comes to the oral defense, you need to make sure that you're giving specifics. You need to make sure that you are offering things that only someone that has done your research would know. Answering in vague generalities. If your question is about determining whether or not something had credibility, well, in order to check credibility, you have to make sure that the person is trustworthy, and once we know they're trustworthy, then we can trust what they say. That's not credibility. How did you use a specific tool, or how did you go about for a specific source trying to determine credibility? Pick something that maybe had questionable credibility and you went out there and determined it was credible. Or maybe something that had questionable credibility and you determined that it was indeed questionable. And then the other question will be content-based. Only someone that has done your research should be able to answer the question the way you do. Avoid vague generalities and give me things that only people that are experts in this issue will know. So that's it. That's the breakdown of what happens in each row of the rubric, what the look-fors are, specifically what you could be doing in order to make sure that you're in that high category, not the medium or the low. As with everything that we do, if you have questions, make sure you ask, either in class or shoot me an email. And with this, you should be ready to go. You should be ready to put that IMP together, and in a few short days, you should be good to present. So I look forward to watching the presentations. As always, if you have questions, make sure you reach out. Thanks.